This is all this is all post, the crucifixion, the resurrection, all these things, um, where Mary is saying, I've seen. She runs back to the tomb. Back to the room where they are. I've seen Jesus, right? And then Peter's like, "You're a crazy woman, right? Look around you." And 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 this is, like I say with Thomas, this is post. I won't believe unless I put my hands in the holes in your hands and in your side. I This is all after that, and of course Jesus goes, "Give me your hand, and I'll stick it in there." Kind of a thing. I'll show you, buddy. Come here. And then,
Go use the restroom. I'll be right back.
um, and so all this is after that, and so we come to the end in verse 25. Um, is that conclusion statement, right? Verse 25 here in John 21, 25. 25 is a conclusion statement to the entire book of John, right? This is the mother of all conclusion statements. I don't know, that one might be every knee will bow and every tongue will confess Jesus is Lord to the glory of God. That might be the greatest conclusion statement. But anyway, so John 21, 25. Here he is, the conclusion statement to the ministry of Jesus. And we read it and we go, oh my gosh, there's so much more, right? There's all these amazing things that are written down, but there's actually more that we didn't even have room to write them down. And in fact, if we did, the world couldn't hold the volumes of things that Jesus did. So when you think about that, you put that into the processing of what the disciples experienced with Jesus. Man, there's so much more. John says that if we had written everything down, we couldn't even, the world couldn't contain the volumes of things that Jesus did.
That's crazy.
That's amazing to
think about.
Yeah. I can't even fully comprehend the things that are written.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And the hardest one to understand is that he loves me. So all these things are written, and there's so much more the world can't even contain the volumes if we were to write them down. So that's number one. Listen, the second amazing thing about this verse 25 is they're written with a purpose. They're written for a reason. So
those were chosen and the other ones were not.
Well, what does he say right there? These things are written. Where does it say, so that you may know that you have eternal life?
Mine says, so that we know his testimony is true.
Yeah. So all of these things were written. There is so much more. And we have trouble enough comprehending the things that are written, but they're written so that you can know that the testimony is true. These things are written not so that you'd hope that you have eternal life, not that you would guess or I don't know. I have to wait until I get to the other side to find out if I have eternal life. All these things are written so that you can know that the testimony is true, and that you can have it, so you won't be guessing. So in a world that is saturated with doubt and skepticism and suspicion, and they impose that on the Bible and on the person of Jesus, we can go to this book and read it. And again, because there's sound, reasonable, intellectually honest explanations for what we believe, right? Plausible, reasonable explanations for why we believe the Bible. Well, because of those things, then we're compelled. I mean, we're not going to just keep ignoring something that is clearly believable. We don't do that. We don't do that in any area of our life. If something becomes believable, we go, okay. Now maybe I believe this, but I'm becoming more and more convinced, like John 6:69, I'm becoming more and more convinced, Lord, that you're the way. And so I'm going to push aside those doubts and that suspicion and the skepticism. And if you are the kind of person who wants to know truth, right? As Jesus said, those who are of the truth are going to seek me. And if that's the kind of follower you want to be, then you're going to push aside those doubts and that skepticism, and you're going to, like we've talked about before, you're going to choose to choose. You're going to keep choosing Jesus and keep choosing to read this Bible because we're compelled, right? We're not just groping in the darkness, hoping that we're going to hit on something. We're compelled because of reasonable explanations. So these things are written so that you could know that you have eternal life. And this conclusion statement, so David, I think you were gone when I said this, but this verse 25 is author's original intent. It's the author's original intent. It's his conclusion statement. You know, we find those conclusion statements in every story that we read, in every book that we read, or an article that we read in the paper or a magazine. There's always a conclusion statement, and that's just good literature. And guess what? That's what John did too. So John 21:25 is a conclusion statement to his book, to the Gospel of John, but it's a kind of a conclusion statement to the ministry of Jesus also. There was so much more that he did. Okay? That the verse I was thinking about is 20:31. 20:31 says these things are written so that you may believe that Jesus Christ is Mateo's here. So John 20:31 is the conclusion statement also at the end of chapter 20. These things are written so that you know that you have eternal life. And then at the end of 21, you got these things are written. And if we were to have written down everything, the world couldn't contain the books that of the things that he did.